everybody. How's it going? This is Jack Devine, coming to you Saturday morning with a little posthumous Phil Lesh send off here. Phil died yesterday, which is kind of a bummer. Big time musical influence, and obviously massive and contributing member of the Grateful Dead from the founding of it, and obviously that's one of my main things in life, so it's kind of a sad thing. It's not a surprise. He's an old guy. He's 84, and he has had some major health issues over the years, but still it's still sad to say adios, even though I think it's safe to say he led a very full life and was truly had a charmed existence. So, may the four winds blow you safely home, my friend. Today I was going to talk about Box of Rain, and I thought that, since that song was written by Phil, or musically at least was written by Phil to kind of mark the, around the passing of his own father, it seems quite poignant to talk about it and use it as a template for, teaching some meaningful dead exploration. So let's talk about Box of Rain. Pretty interesting tune. Lots and lots of chords. And I'll play along with the recorded version, which, by the way, I would just suggest that if you're interested in learning Box of Rain, that you play along with the version off of American Beauty. Hey, when Phil's happening, the band is happening. Absolutely. Yes, that is a huge understatement, and largely paralleled in other bands, in my opinion. When the bass player is having an on night in a band, especially a Grateful Dead band, you have a great time. It's just like, I don't know what's going on, but this is very important. Okay, so let's take a look at what's happening. Okay, we start with that kind of. So the idea here is that we want to play along with the recorded version because it's probably the most consistent, and nobody's clamming. Okay, there's a lot of chords in this thing, so oftentimes when they play it live, there's boo-boos, and there's also, let's put it gently, Phil's best days for vocal performances were probably the earlier ones, right? So this first recording has some of those beautiful vocal arrangements that we're going to find on Grateful Dead music. So it's a wonderful song to play along to. I will say it seems plagued by some tuning difficulties. I would say that. Hey, at work, gotta watch later, but letting you know your hands down. Oh, hangs down, but hands down. My hang down is the best teacher too. Trust me. All right, so here we go. And then I usually hit that little kick, and I hit that and I pluck here. Okay, and that's the G string at the 4th fret and the B string at the 3rd fret. Oddly enough, it's not Garcia playing the guitar on this track. So if you're listening to Box of Rain off the studio, you're actually admiring the piano stylings of Jerome Garcia and the acoustic guitar playing of Phil Lesh. The bass player, I think, is from New Riders, as is the guitar playing is New Riders. Back pickup telly, overbright, kind of clunky. There's isolated versions of the entire track available if you're interested in snagging note for note renderings, though I would say that it's not exactly the kind of driving force you need to be if you're playing in a 2-guitar setup. There's quite a bit of other instrumentation adding to the harmony, and that's pretty much just like a frosting on top on the studio version, because we've got that kind of consistent but a little funky, to be honest, piano playing, right? And it's an odd amalgamation of parts that seems to yield more than the sum of its parts. So, all right, so we've got this A chord, and I kind of hold down a little. Like that when we play it live. something like what the guitar player on the recording does. He does a... He's on the back pickup of a telly. I tend to keep it in the middle there, just as kind of enough bass to fill out the mix, and but still twangy enough to kind of cut through when you dig in. All right, so let's hear that opposite the original recording, and we'll see how we like that. Let's see if I can catch the opening here. No, I've chosen a slightly more ambient and warbly sound to accompany my group, which is the patch that I'm on here on the Kemper. Has a lot of, like kind of shimmer outside of it. The modulation is on the reverb, so it's a little warbly for sure. But this plus the other guitar player holding down more steady chords creates a nice kind of compare and contrast kind of thing between like something that's a little bit more steak and potatoes, and I'm offering a little texture. All right, so that's that first part. D major. All right, now we've got A minor, E minor, C, and then G. All right, and there's any number of little fills that we do over top, no pun intended, little fills, that we do over top of that G chord. We can do, I think this time I did, which is basically just coming down the G major scale while holding the chord. Birds are winging, no rain is G from a heavy sky. Now I will do that little, I will allude to that intro lick, and come up into the D chord, the what do you want me to do part, okay? Definitely will do that very consistently. I try to bring back the hook from that opening part. E minor to D, C, and then it's a D chord, so I come up with the C shape and go kind of a dreamy sound over top of that D. One afternoon long ago, and then here's the other fill that you can do over top of that G chord. Start it a little later. Okay, so there's a longer one where you, or 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, and that's really just going hammering on in the second fret. Okay, what is that? Then we've got walk out of any doorway. All right, this is kind of a kick that everybody's going to need to hit. Walk out of any doorway, feel your way, suck in, feel your way like the day before. Oops. Okay. Maybe you'll find direction, right? And then around some corner where it's been waiting to meet you. We've got this, which is kind of interesting, all right? We've got this interesting little part where it goes, Where is it? Yeah, then please don't be surprised. Don't be surprised when you find me dreaming too. And then we come into our solo. Okay, so that's a little slight differentiation there between the verses. Every one of the verses has some similarities, but then this kind of little, some of them have a little coda at the end with a unique progression. So let's look at the guitar solo. Guitar solo has its own unique progression. Then again, it stems from the verse, okay? So we've got G, A minor, all right, and then the C, and then this is the killer chord in this solo. We're gonna come up, all right, that's a foreshadowing to the ending of the song where we use that same trick again. So we have C, and this is an A, major, not minor, right? But one of the cool things about this A major chord is that it has this ascending happening from C. So you just slide the third up, and then now you're into your D chord, all right? So let's see if we can find that guitar solo, and I'll show you what I do. I found it's nice. YouTube has the option of finding a lot of great outtakes and stuff like that. This is the Box of Rain studio version minus the electric guitar track. Very handy for people that want to learn how to play along to it. For this is all that we do, one afternoon long ago. Walk out of any doorway, feel your way back the day before. Maybe you'll find direction around some corner where it's been waiting to meet you. What do you watch for you while you sleep? Please don't be surprised when you find solo. 1, 2. All right, so that's pretty complex actually, though, when you think about what you're playing through. If you want to hit the chord tones and actually come up through it, you've got G, A minor, and then come up here. That's kind of off the record, okay? And that's interesting because we've got a bent up to B, and then a deliberate rub against the C, a half step above it. Okay, then you let it cry down into the C chord. That's the A7 chord right there with the C sharp up on the top. And then you've got a D chord. Up to a G chord. A minor. D, E minor, A. Let's look at that again. Then please don't be surprised when you here it goes. back in. All right, so think about that G, A. Okay, the C, A7, back to D. All right, and I kind of do one of these things. Try to bend up both notes. Into any eyes you find by you can see clear to another day. Right, same thing. Through other eyes on other days while going home. Killer harmonies. If you've got another person who can sing, you can really come up with some nice arrangements. Third, even better, okay? So don't be shy to try, though I will say it is kind of a difficult song to find the melody note in the chord, because just like everything Phil does, he kind of, his ear wants to hear like an extension of the chord as a melody. So when you look at the opening note of just about every chord, it's a non-chord tone. So you actually have to kind of memorize, oh, I'm singing the 9 of that, the flat 7 of that, the major 7. Difficult to kind of intuit the melody note out of the chord voicings that you're playing, because he's playing kind of folky chord choices, right? But he's beginning and ending his lines usually on non-chord tones like sus4s or major 7s. Okay, so it's hard to hear that note inside there. All right, so let's see what else we got over here. We've got, when we get to, sorry, I've got the chord chart up here, but all right, so basically the rest of the tune is pretty much straight ahead. Live, they would do some arrangements where they would kind of pull back for the "a box of rain will ease the pain and love will see you through." Hey, what's up, Jack? Jabberwocky, hey, thanks for the live hang. Of course. It's my pleasure. We're all kind of hopefully getting together, and maybe we can, I don't think anybody is shocked that Phil has left this world. He did have a liver transplant and cancer survivor, and he's an 84-year-old man who lived a hard rockin' life for many, many decades. There's not a lot of flowers that he didn't get a chance to smell. Like that dude lived exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. So we should all be so lucky as to have the life that Phil was able to wring out of this world. All right. So once we get up to here, this is where it becomes a little bit more through composed, and you do kind of have to memorize this section a little bit. All right. I mean, granted, while I'm singing, I usually have the lyrics in front of me, so I have the fortunate ability to write down. I'm sorry, I'm old. I have bad memory, so I use lyric sheets sometimes, or teleprompters, kind of. And so we've got this part here. It's very cool. Just a box of rain, wind, and water. Believe it if you need it. See, that's the chord change from the solo earlier. Believe it if you need it. If you don't, just pass it on. Sun and shower, wind and rain, in and out the window. What is that? In and out. No, it's in and out the window like a moth before a flame. See, I usually play that little lick there. And then that pulls us nicely up into, and it's just a box of rain. I don't know who put it there. Here we go. D down to B minor. Believe it if you need it, or leave it if you dare. And it's just a box of rain, or a ribbon for your hair. Such a long, long time to be gone, and a short time to be. D, C, G, D, A7. Sorry, A sus4 at the end. Oh yeah. All right, so you're gonna. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I did not know I was doing that. I don't normally actually do that, but whatever. I feel relaxed. So the idea is, when I play this song with my band, which is kind of a special occasion. You know, we don't play it often, but when we do, I like to make it, you know, meaningful. And boy, oh boy, I'm lucky to have some gifted singers in the group with me. So when things work out that we're singing more intense harmony songs, this is a good one for sure. All right, so we've got that. Beautiful chord change that to the E minor. Just a box of rain. And a short time to be there. Now, I will often play a C9 chord there and drone the D note, which is going through. Gives me a little. I'm holding that D through all 1, 2 B. If I can get a breath there. I have to remember to take a breath between the G and the D, otherwise I don't have enough air to push out and hold that through all 4 chords. So the sneaky trick that I do is, seeing as how I'm one of 3 singers, as I already have. This is my stunt double, basically. So if I go, and a short time to be there. See how I didn't take a breath? To be there. And then I can get it in another breath with this guy still kind of covering for me. All right? So, you know, I know that seems like super inside baseball, and if you're not the singer, you're not going to need to worry about that. But I sing in the group that I play with most often, and that comes in handy, that little trick of keeping it. So if you want to be like Papa Jack, play a C9 chord and just anchor your ring finger through the whole thing. All right? Now, there isn't too much more to discuss on this because I'm not a brave enough soul, or at least from my perspective, I'm not a brave enough soul to diverge from, I don't go off piste here. I play it very much as written. I don't mess with the arrangement and add extra bars or do anything weird or extra solos or It's tough enough to get 5 people to play this many chords sequentially correctly. The last thing I need to do is throw any more curveballs than Captain Phil already did. All right, this is a very involved song in terms of the chords. Okay, not that they're difficult grabs; they're simple folk song chords. He wasn't an advanced guitar player. But what he was an advanced like guy in terms of finding cool harmonic and melodic choices. And this music is almost through composed. Like I said, it kind of feels like a life in some ways. And that there's a similarity from day to day to day, but every day, you know, maybe you get a little turn or twist. My wife and I have a box of memories and old love notes that we call our box of rain. That is absolutely sweet. One of my high school girlfriends, this was a very, I think she loved this tune. This and Broke Down Palace were songs that we used to listen to a lot. I remember. I mean, I really, really loved the records that the Grateful Dead put out. I know a lot of people, you know, lived their lives show to show, But if you were like me and young when you got into the band, it wasn't really that much I could do from suburban New Jersey where I grew up to get to shows. And frankly, I didn't even understand that there was this like mobile army of people following a band around. I just saw on the inside of Europe 72, or maybe it was on the back of Skull and Roses, or inside of Skull and Roses, there's like Dead Freaks Unite, tell us about yourselves, all this shit like that. Deadheads or something like that. I remember seeing that and being like, I don't get it. Like I didn't know that you could be dedicated, quote unquote. All right, so that's my breakdown on Box of Rain. Find a good chart. I think I use the one off of Cordy. I don't look at it too much other than for lyrical prompts because I want to do justice by the lyrics, which I think somehow Robert Hunter really nailed this kind of contemplative and reflective moment I mean, I've been through that when my father passed away. I couldn't help but think about this song actually because I knew of its origins and kind of the bespoke nature of the composition. It was kind of written at a time when Phil was spending a lot of time by himself alone, apparently. If you look online, you'll find him talking about the song because it is one of only a few compositions that he wrote and brought to the band with the lead vocal. Okay, I think you've got Pride of Cucamonga, Unbroken Chain, and this. Those are the three that spring to mind for me. I don't know. Are there others? I really don't know. It's certainly none that are as meaningful to me as those three. Those are I would probably put them in that order. Maybe flip Unbroken Chain and Box of Rain for gold medal, silver medal, bronze. As much as I love Pride of Cucamonga because I'm a country and western and pedal steel absolute like fanboy, the song itself doesn't have quite as much emotional resonance with me as Box of Rain and Unbroken Chain. Unbroken Chain is a spectacular, but you think this is a complex labyrinth to navigate. Good luck with Unbroken Chain. A lot of interesting changes in there. So I think we all have our little Box of Rain, to put it back to you. We all have a little space where we keep our memories, both positive and negative. You love my memories. You bet I get this question, but I feel like plateaued in terms of soloing, like Jerry. Okay, so plateauing. How do you do it? You need you're gonna need new information. Just like a flower, you need to cross-pollinate. You need to seek inspiration through external stimuli. This is my true guidance to you would be get out of your comfort zone and try something different. Try doing something you haven't done, even if it seems initially much harder than that which you have done in the past successfully. Definitely the hardest part. Oh, that's cool, man. Thanks, Robert. Hey, Robert, it's nice to see you. So, like for me, I remember, I still bump into my own progress from time to time, and that sensation of wanting to just buff up that which I already have under my belt, that definitely happens. And in order to kind of push past that complacency that you can find, say 10, 15, 20 years into the guitar playing, which is usually what happens, is that people go like, that's what I do when I come here. You have to kind of open up your mind and your ears a little bit through maybe transcribing another person's work, or finding, I'm not trying to put my hat in the ring, but finding a mentor that's past your progress who can kind of guide you towards where you want to go a little bit. Sometimes the doors are hidden to the next chapter. The passageway forward is not always clearly delineated. All right. If I'm being perfectly honest, a lot of the times technical setbacks hold back people progressing into more complicated and refreshing inspired positions on the neck. So like if you don't know how to play groups of 6 or groups of 5 or groups of 3, or you haven't worked out how to do your alternate picking properly, or you don't understand that if a line is starting on an upbeat, you want to start on an upstroke, mushrooms. And no, I thought it said mushrooms, but no, it says metronome and picking. But mushrooms and picking will work too. If I may, I don't always look for inspiration from other guitar players. Exactly. Exactly. So you can, exactly. So skinny puppy or snarky puppy, I'm sorry, mushrooms will help too. Yeah. But yes, exactly. So what I was saying is cross pollinating to other genres will definitely do it. So learn a bluegrass tune, learn a country and western like a Texas swing song. Go Django. Go transcribe a saxophone solo, even if it's something basic. You know, find an online instructor that has some element of their playing that you like, and watch a bunch of their videos, and hopefully you'll be able to find something that you find beautiful or telling there. You know, yeah, I've been loving bluegrass and Billy Strings lately, which has probably helped me in the Jerry verse 1000%. All right, so much of anybody who's studied with me will understand that much of what's taking place in these closed position solos they're taking that are part of Jerry's style are actually just transported open string bluegrass ideas that are played elsewhere on the neck with the closed position and utilizing these 3 fingers and this as the nut. So, and certainly the harmony of those songs using like definitely that all that that's a huge part of this. Okay, let's see what else we got. I don't want that. There we go. There, there's a less warbly and ambient sound. All right. So, what, Shane, did you not know that I played bluegrass for a while? Yeah, it's a great. You asked what can you do? Go learn some fucking bluegrass, dude. It's great. All right. So I know there are many great guitarists. Are you also inspired by Johnny Winter? To be honest, no. I don't like Johnny Winter's sound. I think his sound is a little shrill. I don't really care for his vocals. And if I'm interested in blues, I tend to go back to the things, if I'm being honest, that influenced him. Like, I'm a huge Muddy Waters devotee. I love Muddy Waters. I'd rather listen to Muddy Waters all day, any day, than any Johnny Winter, even though he's a far more explosive guitar player. If I'm interested in high octane blues, which is rare, to be honest, I don't necessarily feel like it works so great, but I'll probably lean heavily on the British guys that you know, and if I want it really hard, I'll go as far as like a Gary Moore kind of thing, who I think is a fucking absolute ripper. I can't play like that, but man, but Robin Trower, Stevie Ray Vaughan is a good for high octane blues play. I prefer him way past Johnny Winter. That said, Johnny Winter is very. I respect him very much, but he's just not my jam. Do I have a website for information on lessons? Yeah, you're kind of on it. Just leave me your email and I'll reach out to you if you want here, or you can contact me at my email, jack_divine@hotmail.com. That's in the back at the end of 99.9% of the lessons that I've already done online. If you're interested in that, I don't like to lead with the "hey, come give me your money" thing, but yeah, that works too. You know, a lot of internet guitar people, educators, online educators, you know, they're pitching a course or, you know, stuff like that. I definitely want to make money teaching guitar lessons, sure, but a lot of what I'm doing, like these kinds of things, are for people that are curious but don't have necessarily the kind of resources that would lead towards being able to be involved with a private instructor week after week. It can stack up, you know, it's not cheap. So with that said, free, topical, and more survey based, rather than, there's some deep dives going on here for sure, but it's more conversational, and it's also just a way for me to stay in touch with people that are like-minded in terms of their fascination with the music of the Grateful Dead, which, let's be honest, that's what I know most about, and so I might as well share what I can. Do you get inspired by Jorma Kaukonen? I liked the only inspiration I've ever had is I think that the recorded solo off of White Rabbit is fucking sick. I don't know how he got all that cool feedback, and I also think that his finger picking on what is it? If the river was whiskey and I was a dove. That kind of thing. What is that? Hesitation Blues? But generally speaking, Jorma's playing has been marred for me by Jack Cassidy's presence over the years. Yeah, I don't really care too much for Jack Cassidy. I find him to be sort of a laughable character rather than an admirable sidekick. I find him to be somewhat kind of like too busy and not really that enjoyable from a bass perspective. That said, Phil Lesh was super busy, but still somehow I managed to find Phil's bass lines more contrapuntal rather than like busy for no real reason. I don't really find the Jack Cassidy stuff to be as inspirational. Now, here's the thing about me. I'm an asshole about music. I'm really, really kind of touchy about it. And if something trips my wires early in the process of being exposed to something, I kind of hold on to it like some sort of trauma victim. And it's bad for me, trust me. It's really kept me away from appreciating lots of cool shit that later in life, but the truth is it's my loss. It's kept me away from cool things for a long time. And what I've realized is if I can just let down my guard and convince myself that an opinion that I formed when I was 19 might not necessarily be valid at 54, guess what? I might find some joy somewhere hidden in there. So I try to shake loose all those cobwebs of preconceived ideas all the time. But that's me. Hey, I'm happy to see you too, Mr. Montgomery. So let's talk. Anybody got any questions about how to approach specific sections of Grateful Dead songs, specific Grateful Dead songs? How to, if you want to understand how I tend to teach, I tend to favor first giving folks enough information to be able to tackle pentatonics well. So let's see I don't know if I have anything in my looper already. No, it's empty. So the good news is we could set something up. So if we just look at just like a simple 1, 2, 3, 4. Just a little groove in G. All right? So a lot of people would say, well, what am I supposed to do here? Should I be going? There's nothing wrong with that. G major, right? But I like that more. And what is that sound? That sound is the major pentatonic scale played with a devotion to approaching its third degree from a half step below. All right, so basically any ideas that you'd have in here, you're going to want to like that. Right, so you want pentatonic major plus the flat 3. All right, and that follows any major chord possible. Let's take a second to examine why that works. This is a very, very funny little bit of musical symmetry that exists. Let's take any key. Right there, we were just playing in G major. Okay, now, or over a G major sound. All right, and this could have been one of 3 chords. All right, this could have been G major as the 1, G major as a 4, or G major as a 5. But either way, no matter what I was doing, no matter what its function was relative to the key that it's from, the lines that I was playing would have worked because it didn't include any of the specific declarative modal information that's contained in the 4th and 7th degrees of the major scale. So if you don't understand what that gibberish meant, I totally get it, all right? But let me show you what I'm talking about. The G chord could be the 1 chord in a song that goes like something like that. G major to its 2nd chord, a 2 minor, and then it's 5. There's no way that that isn't the 1 chord at that point. If we see this going something like that, we know this is a 5 chord. Go 5, 4, 1 in the key of C. If we see it as the 4 chord in another, Robert, stop texting me privately, dude. So this is the 4 chord, we would be in the key of D going 1, 4, and 5, right? So the interesting thing is, if we look at, let's look at it as a, gosh darn it, everybody's decided to text me. So the idea here is that the G major chord has a 1, a 3, and a 5, okay? So all of those notes are going to be valid. And so the 2 and the 6 are, or the 9 and the 6 are the only other notes that we're talking about including in our 5 notes, pentatonic, 5, like a pentagram. So the idea is that the root of the G and its 5 notes don't clash with any of the upper extensions, the flat 7 or the major 7, or the 4 or the raised 4, which are the only distinguishing notes, okay, that separate G major, major 7 perfect 4, from Mixolydian G, flat 7 perfect 4, or raised 7 raised 4 Lydian. So if we see a G chord going, like when we see that, right, or what's it, you know, that kind of thing where like Tom Petty's tune, that's an A Lydian, right? Because we're playing, that's the 3rd up a whole step, right? And then what does it do? It goes, so that's the 4 and the 5 chord, and then it releases to, here comes my girl. Right? Here comes my girl. Minor 6. Or actually, no, that's the 2, sorry. And she finally right. She's all I need tonight. Okay, so that's a good example of the G major pentatonic not giving a shit whether or not there's any of those extensions. So if we look at a tune like, let's look at what's going on over top of the chorus of "They Love Each Other." That's a good example. Okay, so if we do, it starts on an F, right? 1, 2, 3. Lord, you can see that it's true. So what did we get? We got a G major chord, an F chord, and a C major chord. That means we're playing at a C major. idea, right? When we see that, we see an F chord, a C chord, and a G chord. Are we going to sit there and think C major? And therefore F Lydian and G Mixolydian over each of those chords? No. It sounds way too cerebral to do that. We can't sit there and lean heavily on that and play. It doesn't have enough blues to it. So if we take the F chord and go, doing there, I'm playing the same 4 or 5 licks, but I keep changing the key that they're in. I take these 4 or 5 kind of anybody who's studied with me has heard this spiel before. I think of them as being like I call them tent pole licks. They kind of prop up the entire structure of they're kind of like the skeleton that forms the staple of my cuisine, or the bedrock of the lexicon that handles the Grateful Dead sound as I see it, or hear it rather. All right, and so that's going to be any of these, like, or those 4 licks are the kinds that I show a lot. So that would make, if we did this over top of the F chord, and then that's over G and F. Or now, is that to say that I'm never playing anything that's modal? Of course I do from time to time. I'll fly if I'm going down through a series of scaly bits, like I'll be thinking, okay, follow the notes of C major. All right. But then you have to hit the dismount and land on the root of the 4, which the whole progression starts from. So you can't get lost in playing the scale. Yeah, every note in there is not every note in there is right to some degree, but depending on which chord you're on, you're going to have to land on its 1, 3, and 5 of all of those, and all that's contained in there. But it gets kind of weird. Crazy Fingers is one of your favorite solo exercise tunes. Abso-fucking-lutely. That is a very complex. That's more like a tune like Deal, where you take it chord by chord by chord by chord, and so you have to have you got to have your shit screwed down pretty tight before you get into something like that. Or you could start tracking the melody, right? What is that? What is that? What is that? That's going to be... That's definitely a tough tune. And then you've got the... Life may be sweet. This was it. I forgot those changes. Fuck you. No, I'm kidding. I love that tune. It's just been 10 years since I played it with anybody. Okay, so you've got some nice stuff in there, but you do have to think every chord to every chord, and you kind of have to... I need to kind of... If I think back to school, I need to go and cram in the cafeteria before the exam. I definitely refresh my memory on a song like that before I play it. I don't. If somebody called it cold on the bandstand, I would say, "Can we find something, please, a little bit more approachable for this dusty old brain of mine?" I wouldn't want to just wing that one. Okay, plenty of tunes you can do that with. You can kind of find your way through, lots of tunes. But some songs with those more involved changes, hey, you might want to premeditate some ideas a little bit. I do have a nice solo lesson on that song, but it has been a while since I played it in a group. I've been trying to get everybody. See, that's the problem, is getting 5 people to all learn the same repertoire is definitely difficult. So anyway, back to what I was trying to talk about here. If we've got this G major idea, right, we don't want to have to debate whether or not we're going to hit the flat 7 or, you don't. Well, you can think voice leading if you want, but really the idea is that the harmony travels with the root of the chord. So when we play, there will be no wrong notes this way. All right, feeling Phil this morning. Yes, I was feeling Phil this morning and last night. So the idea is over top of the F, we would be playing over the top of the C. Over the G. So what do we see? We see that on display very easily within the realm of Bertha, for example. 1, 2, 4, 1. Basically just pivoting back and forth between G major pentatonic flat 3 and C major pentatonic flat 3. So if I start up there, into G major pentatonic flat 3. C. Pentatonic. So that's really what that is that sound is basically just electrified bluegrass. And that's, to me, the beginnings of the Garcia template, right? Now, I hear him conjuring that sound more, obviously, before 72. So I don't really dig too much, the late 60s stuff too much. But starting on... Oh, thanks. It's my pleasure, Mr. Chilies or Chills. So it's my pleasure to spend time with you guys. Actually, it's nice to kind of just a little bit. I had a rough day yesterday. So the idea is hey, you're gonna need this at least at the bedrock of stuff that then comes in when we're doing a lot of the other work that we're going to be doing when we play over more modal songs. So it's not like all this doesn't get touched when we play songs that have a distinct modal need to satisfy. Okay, so when we do that, what do we use? We use this as kind of, I use the metaphor of this being the base camp at the foot of Mount Everest. And we learn to like kind of live there, and then we can summit the mountain by adding the other two notes that remain. So from here, right? That's too much that's too broken up. Am I playing the same lines over F C? Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm playing the same fucking lines. The same way when you play blues, right? You're thinking I'm playing over the one chord. Now when you go to 4, you could go same sound, right? So so I'm basically taking the same harmony over each of those 3 blues chords all the time, but it's not the same harmony. I'm not really examining each thing from a major pentatonic flat 3. I'm kind of constantly commingling major and minor blues sounds. Okay, so you've got a major blues and a minor blues scale. I'm kind of smooshing them both together to create kind of an amalgam of both over top of all 3 chords. Sometimes I'll lean more heavily on the major side if I'm looking for that brighter, more open sound that I associate with like Garcia, BB, and Freddie King. And if I'm going for a sadder, more slightly more angular and angry sound, a la Billy Gibbons or Hendrix or Albert King, then I'll lean more heavily on the minor pentatonic with the flat 5. Rather than okay, so within the blues idiom, there's this kind of movable feast that follows all 3 chords. We kind of treat each chord as its own tonal center. And so I learned that method early in my playing. And so I tried it with the major pentatonic following the major chords after I had done some good hard work playing bluegrass over the years. And I realized, oh, that's how that's done. That's what he's doing. I transcribed a couple of solos and I realized, oh shit, Garcia's actually just kind of hopping up some bluegrass and playing closed position. He's not playing back here. He's up here going, you know. So that basically is the bedrock, all right, for the jam band stuff that I tackle. Is when I see major chords, I just follow it with major pentatonics and the flat 3, unless, of course, my little pea brain has been able to figure out, oh shit, that's the 5 chord, that's the 4 chord, that's the 1 chord. Once that happens, then all bets are off. So, I mean, yeah, we could take, let's clear that looper, and hang on a second here. Let's go and find, let's take an easy Let's take an easy tune, okay? Where do we got it? All these stupid patches, man. I gotta figure out how to do better than this. Where are we? There we go. Hey. All right, so let's say we're doing, let's do this. Let's just do something simple. Do a little FOTM, all right? And because everybody can follow Fire on the Mountain. It's simple as hell. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you did that record. Oh, it didn't turn off. Fuck you. I hate that looper. 2, 2, 3, 4. So now we're kind of set to talk about how to approach modal playing, right? Which we would be examining all my major pentatonic flat 3 stuff. Right? We would be doing all the same shit, except now we can also bring in the flat 7 and the 4 over the B chord, and the major 7 and the raised 4 over top of the 4 chord. Now don't forget, when we're playing B to A in Fire on the Mountain, we're really playing the 5 of the E major scale that we're playing out of. So this is the 5 and the 4 of E major. So if we just rock up and down E major, we're going to sound pretty good, right? So here we get. That's weird as hell. It's like it looped my thing. Let me get that bass line back in there. Sorry about that, guys. So let's do a little bit less tone. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. I gotta wait for it to play around. I'm stupid. So if we're in the position of playing B major pentatonic flat 3 and A major pentatonic flat 3, because nobody cares, that's all going to be fine. None of those notes clash with whatever modes they could be. But let's take a second to figure out what modes they actually should be. And that way, we won't be telling any lies, but when we play only major pentatonic flat 3 or there's no lies there, there's no bad notes. But we are missing some of the better notes, okay? So it's an incomplete answer is the best way to frame it, in my opinion. All right, so if we look over, B is now going to be seen as the 5 chord in the key of E major, and A would be seen as the 4 chord in the key of E major. We'd still be playing all the notes from E major's major scale. But we want to make sure that we align it with the downbeat of the B chord to share the 1, 3, and 5, and maybe even the flat 7, but usually just the 1, 3, and 5 of that, and the 1, 3, and 5. In particular, targeting roots and thirds. So you'll find that there's a particular gratification that comes from hitting the third on the downbeat, 2, and the root. Okay, then. We're starting to hear that sound emerge a little bit more clearly, I think. All right, and here I am including the flat 7, 4, and then relieving there, and then over top of the 4 chord in E, I'm going to be playing no D on strong beats unless we're pulling back into or up into chord tones. See, we're so what is that? That all that shit is B mixolydian. Okay, which is E major. Just played from the B note to the B note, and so that grounds the 1, the 3, and the 5th, the 1st, 3rd, and 5th notes in the scale, along with the chords that we're playing over. It's kind of a duh, no shit kind of system, and so we just bring that same idea back, but don't forget, the upper extensions, the 4 and the 7, have to be treated uniquely each time we change to another major chord. We have to think, what mode is that? Oh, that's the 4th mode of E major. Right now, if we just play up and down the E major scale, we're going to sound pretty good, though. Let's come here. Soon we're going to want to resolve that. We can't just keep trucking up and down and hoping that we land on the right notes at the right time. We need to make sure that we're still emphasizing that we're playing over a B chord when we're doing it. And there's no better device in my findings than the major pentatonic flat 3 follows the chord, but from there we'll go pentatonics plus. We'll go like create the motion downwards towards the A with that chromatic run, and on the way up from our basically generic now lesser flat G run in the key of B, I'll throw in both the 7 and the 4, the 2 modal notes that we've omitted up to this point. So for some and then we end up with or so you see me whizzing through some excuse my dictation serious mistakes. Did I miss a comment there? I'm so sorry. My iPad is slowly recharging from a bit of a boo-boo the other day, so I don't have a teleprompter that's showing what people are showing here. Let's just take a second here. Sorry, folks. Allow me to, yay, this thing is 12 years old or something like that. So, I mean, apparently they're not even connected to the fucking internet. What's going on? I'm sorry. I know that the whole reason I can actually connect with you guys is this internet thing, but it fucking sucks sometimes. I am sick and fucking tired of having to update everything every 10 seconds. I'm old. I'm going to go outside and shout at the clouds. I'll be back in a minute, okay? Here we go. There we go. Back online, apparently. Here we go. And view channel. And now I can actually turn down the volume here. And we'll see what I'm up to. All right. Wrong direction there. View channel. There we go. All right. So last comment was... Okay, Douglas Montgomery said, so the flat 7 for the 5 chord really brings out the 5 chord, and the flat 3, no, the flat 3 for the 4 chord really helps bring out the, no. What we're going to want to, so to answer your question, Douglas, no. When we think about the distinctions between, well, what are the notes of E major? Think about it like that way. If we play E major from E to E, we will hear... Right? So if we play from E, the notes, those notes, all right, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, and then back to E. That's our 7 notes and the octave, right? If we take those 7 notes and don't change them, no matter what, they never change. All we do is start playing our scale from the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th click on that dial of 7, all right, and we would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Those would be our 8 notes that we get to play from B to B. They're the same notes that were contained inside the E major. We're just flipping it. Embedded inside the E major scale comes 7 chords, one based off of each. So a major chord, minor 2, minor 3, major 4, major 5, minor 6, half diminished, all right, and then back to the root. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So the 5 and the 4 are both major scales. They have a major 3rd, but further up the ladder, we see a flat 7 and a perfect 4. And if we play the notes of E major over an A bass tone, we're going to hear A Lydian. A, B, these are the same, still the same notes from E major, but they're pit against a 1, 3, and 5 of an A chord, and they sound like this. See that D sharp? That's the note that most people fuck up when they play Fire on the Mountain. When it comes to that second chord, they'll play, if we play that opening lick from Cornell. That's 5, 5, 4, 4, 3 into, you're very welcome, sir. I love you guys too, okay? If we did that, and then we go, well, it's a B chord to an A chord, so we'll bring the whole lick back, and we'll do... It doesn't sound right. Watch. We need to make it this D sharp note. I'll play it the other way. Okay, that's the trick. Think that you're playing E major over both those chords, but you have to ground your E major scale in the 1, 3, and 5 of the B and the 1, 3, and 5 of the A. It's kind of a lot. So basically, that's why it's important that you understand your major pentatonics, and then you just add pentatonic plus. So you're not constantly doing this where you're shifting the root around inside of another key. It's kind of like constantly translating Spanish into Italian. Learn fucking Italian. Think about it like this. It's all the notes of your major pentatonic flat 3 plus 2 notes. So we're going to get the 4, perfect 4, right? And the flat 7 over the B chord. All right, and then we're going to get those same over there, but now we're going to have to think about the sharp 4 and the major 7. That's the sound of Lydian. So if we put that on, do a little bit of that weird kind of glitchy octave divider version of Fire on the Mountain solo. That's what we're searching for ultimately, is that's the power of modes, right? Is that we're limiting ourselves to this 7-note scale, and we're allowing a few accidentals to work their way in. Accidentals means those chromatic approach tones that we're finding out of both approach tones into the flat third and the flat third over top of the A chord. Watch what happens if we omit that flat third. We lose out on all this kind of energy. Watch, you'll hear me play this like a lot. That D has no business in there as a hold tone. But if we go, I'm going to use it coming up into the B. All right, so Douglas, I hope you're clocking what I'm talking about here. I hope I'm not being too, highfalutin or whatever the phrase is, So that's what's happening modally past pentatonics. So I think of this as like pentatonics. That's like kind of your ground zero knowledge you have to have. You just have to have it because that's the idiom of Garcia. And then the next layer comes basically in 72. He meets Keith. And we were talking about breaking through our own plateaus. Well, sometimes a band member can kickstart you a little bit. And I am firmly in the belief that Keith was the catalyst that brought the Mixolydian and modal awareness to Garcia's playing in a manner that we hadn't really heard before. Now, that's not to say that I don't know what was going on in the man's mind. We're talking, 50 plus years ago. Okay? But the playing sure as shit changes right when Keith gets into the mix, right? All of a sudden, it still has plenty of that, like when we look at China Cat, for example, right? The solo in China Cat starts out like all the solos where it's all like, if we're talking about a G chord, it's all coming up on the third, coming here. A whole lot of major pentatonic flat 3 going on. So that D chord, and all of a sudden it turns into a D7 sound. All of a sudden Garcia starts to bust out this shit. Right, and that's that Mixolydian flavor that everybody goes like, oh my god, what a. That's what everybody's really after, if you ask me, is getting the fluidity to go back and forth between those two voicings. So I will often ask students to approach, once we've discussed major pentatonic flat 3 enough, and then we get to this pentatonics plus phase, well, then we can really try to tackle properly the song. We can work with a full palette of colors. All right. If you jump into the pool right away with the seven note scales with all the little chromatic approach tones, I feel like you in the end are kind of coming in top heavy, and you won't have any of the fundamental infrastructure underneath you that comes from the trajectory that Jerry and I guess myself as well took, where you come up playing through some of those bluegrass ideas, and then you start to augment, well, no pun intended, augment them a little bit to include, right, a little bit more information. Okay, so that's how I would approach anybody who's feeling that plateaued experience that we were talking about. That's the ticket right there. So start with your major pentatonics. So over top of that D chord, and let's say we're doing just a G jam over top of like. All right, so the idea being that sound right there is one that you need to learn to get under control, because you're going to be staring on the barrel of a lot of Mixolydian one of these days. And if you're stuck holding the incomplete answer, but still no wrong notes, right? Musically, it kind of satisfies the Hippocratic Oath, the first do no harm. Don't play any wrong notes, right? But on the same token, if you're so scared of hitting wrong notes that you don't play, right, then you're never going to learn to blow. What effect is that? That's just... What do you mean? That's yeah, so the idea is if you don't make any mistakes, right, but if you can't make any mistakes within the system that you're comfortable in, that's the major pentatonic flat 3, then you can pick and choose to augment those scales with a little bit of extra color. So when you come up to the major 6 over that D jam, instead of just kind of lingering there and never going up that half step to get to the flat 7, now you can poke at it. that the person who's asking about the effect I was using might be referring to my overuse of certain pinch harmonics to create those upper, the kind of high squealy, screechy sound where it's... That's me being hooked on Europe 72 for too many years, using the middle pickup of the Strat. I'm finding the sweet spot for playing in specific places. Somewhere within this pickup and this pickup, you're going to find little... If I make a mistake, you're only one note away from the right note. Like it's like saying you come into a restaurant. Yeah, I don't believe that. That is... Yeah, you can save your ass a little bit if you know a couple of moves, but by and large, no. What you want to do is have an awareness of where you're supposed to be, and yeah, you can definitely fudge your way out of some problems, but it's better. Obviously, it's better not to blow it. Okay, so what I like to do is I try to stay within certain areas, like you want to limit yourself for a little bit while you learn in here, and then move on to thanks. So you're going to want to... So if we look at the same ideas, I agree. I love this instrument. Douglas says sweet guitar. This is a nice old Strat that I've had for probably 20 years, something like that. So what we want to do is learn that same stuff. Major pentatonic flat 3 over top of D there, right? So let's do that. Once we kind of get that together, then we can start looking at the extra notes. If we're going... So there's our flat 7 and our 4 right there. All right, so now we'll hear that sound opposite there. So we'll take the incomplete sound of the major pentatonic. Sounds nice. Now let's add the flat 7 and the 4 to the... Soon we're free. All right, now we should be able to do that over a Lydian jam and over a major chord jam. And once you can do that, then you can play over any major chord all the way. Major pentatonic flat 3 and the modal information. And then you get to decide whether or not you think those extra fancy pants uptown notes help or hurt the sound that you're after. Sometimes, right, it doesn't make sense to bring those uptown intellectual notes into the mix. Sometimes it's better to go for the jugular and play that sweet bluesy sound that we get out of the major pentatonic flat 3. And that's kind of the end of my story. The fancy you love the fanciest of pants. I am blue jeans today, and apparently a shirt that features a large leg of ham that my wife decided to buy me when we travel to Spain often in the summer. So I guess I do tend to eat a little bit of a little too much pata negra. All right, so Jabberwocky says Hamon, I guess, and I'm one of your favorites. That's another nice thing to read when you're feeling a little blue. I've been kicking myself in the ass a little bit lately. I'm a little dissatisfied with what's going on here in the city, both for me and just in general musically. I remember when I was younger, back in my day, there used to be more going on, and now seems like people are pretty fucking content to sit inside and do nothing. Um, Says the guy in his basement for the last hour and a half. Anyway, gorgeous sunny day outside. This is bothering me now. So anyway, that's about it. I don't know if anybody. That's really the end of that discussion. Really, when you think about it, is acquire your major pentatonic flat three. Maybe there's a couple of other little ideas that you might want to think about, like arpeggios and enclosures and those kinds of things. But once you get to that, oh, thank you. When you get to playing arpeggios and enclosures, then at that point you should be pretty well into the third act of your playing, as far as I'm concerned. But if you're doing that before then, chances are you have some pretty huge blind spots. Thank you for tuning in and saying hi. It's nice to have an active conversation with you, Doug. So if anybody has any other questions, that's great. If not, maybe I'll duck out of here and actually go eat some breakfast, because I've been running on coffee. Like to see me play with Mickey Toop. Yeah, I know Mickey. He's a cool guy. Let's see what we got here. Sorry, one of the better Bob sides out there. It's not. He's not in a band, right? Is there a band you could have some fun with outside my project? Let me know. Happy to make the connection. I know Mickey. I think Mickey is a really valuable resource for the Bob inclined community and stuff like that. And I get the feeling that he's a lifer for this kind of stuff. You know, I got a lot of appreciation and respect for anybody who's really prepared to kind of live out of a trailer and drive around and play and do everything that he's very committed to the music. And I mean, I think he's also a lot younger than I am. I decided, I guess, to I broadened my palette, my skill set when I was younger, and learned how to do engineering and production, and got into doing recording and composition. And I play a bunch. I play several instruments well enough to do commercials and soundtrack work and things like that. So over the years, while I might have a penchant for doing a passable Garcia impression, and immense love and respect for that music, I also have made a fair bit of money and impact in other genres of music and other things. And so I haven't had to do the hard, heavy lifting that a lot of touring musicians have had to do. I mean, I've spent some time traveling to play, but not like road dogs. No, I mean, I'm a tenderfoot compared to a cat like Mickey in terms of his lifestyle is pretty close to the bone. I am definitely a man who enjoys his creature comforts, and I've grown accustomed to being more comfortable than most, I think. So I'm kind of a spoiled little bitch in that regard. So hats off to anybody who's ready to really risk it all for the music. I guess I'm too big of a pussy to throw away having a family and a career and stuff like that. So went to high school with many DSO family. Yeah, those guys are guys are super dedicated to this stuff, and they were the first generation of players, those cats that were Zen tricksters and stuff like that out here on the island. All right, I'm going to say adios and great hands and brain there, Jack. Always a pleasure to hear from you. Thank you guys very much for tuning in and helping me kind of, pay a little tribute to Phil and one of his better songs, or sadly not too many of them out there. And actually happy to entertain and educate. If I'm shining a light on anything, you're transparently honest and peppered with humor, loaded with teaching talent. Thanks. That's extraordinarily flattering. I'm gonna go and see whether or not anybody who I live with feels that way about me, and maybe somebody will give me an attaboy upstairs, because I could sure use one right about now. I've been kind of bummed out. I've lost some people that are really important. Not, I mean, Phil, yeah, but more a lot of other people too. All right. So hoping that everybody out there has a great day, and I'll probably see you soon. I'll probably do another podcast, whatever they call this, live stream soon enough. Okay. Take care. Cancel the end.